Hello and welcome to LaserBeam Live. This is episode number 8. I want to thank you all for joining me. Anybody who's joined a previous stream, anybody who's joined this stream, and anybody who will join in the future. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get right into the chat. Let's say what up to Nicholas. Cruise Missile 71. I haven't seen your username before, but if this is your first time, welcome. If not, then welcome back. Stevie G, Koala. Hey, Koala. Jack. Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. Our marketing team, design team, they've been working on upgrading the effects here, trying to improve the visuals. They're not perfect yet, but we will perfect them as we move into the future. Hopefully, this stream just gets better and better and better. Mic volume output low. Anybody else feeling like the? Okay. Hopefully the mic output is all good. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Uh, how's the audio? How's the visual? That's our new ritual, making sure that we're not laggy. You can see all the movement and you can see the voice. George says, yes, everything's looking good. What's up, Jack, in the shop? Howard, how are you doing? Perfecto. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. So this stream is going to be a continuation of last stream. To kind of summarize that up, we're playing with being able to engrave the negative of an image by using the outline tool, using an outline outside of our design, and then essentially putting the fill so that it essentially engraves the so essentially that it engraves the negative of our text. So instead of actually engraving the text, we wanted to engrave everything but the text so that the text is raised off our surface, essentially creating the perfect stamp head. And last week we went through the software, we went through the design, we had our ups, we had our downs, we were watching tutorials live, I was getting input from you guys in the chat. It was a bit of a mess, but that's usually how projects work in the real world. They're a bit of a mess, you're learning on the fly. And then finally we figured out that we actually figured it out in the first 10 minutes of the stream, but because of the way GSender visualizes the negative engraving, we weren't sure that we were getting it right. So we spent a little bit of time kind of troubleshooting and trying to figure things out and ended up at the same place that we got to in the beginning, which is an engraving job that will engrave the negative. So that was a roller coaster. So guys, if you guys missed last week's stream and you're wondering what design we're playing with today, just after this stream, you guys can go back into the last stream and you guys can kind of go and see that journey that we took last week with getting this design to where it is today. Today, hopefully, will be a relatively quick stream. It'll essentially be the results, and we have our laser safe rubber, 100% rubber, and we will be doing the negative engraving on that, and then afterwards we will be cutting it out, and then we will be hot gluing it to a stamp. But you can use just about any adhesion method to get your stamp head onto your stamp. And then we got our ink right here so that we can play around and see how good our stamp works. Obviously, we're making a very small stamp, and when you're making text on a small surface, the widths of the line of the text and the font might be a little bit too thin. That's what I was kind of worried about last stream. But I figured let's just run it on the actual rubber and see the way it looks with a little bit of ink and actually stamping it down on some paper before we start, you know, doing like a post-mortem of how we would change, which fonts we'd rather use, how obviously I'd rather use as large of a surface area as possible, thick as font as possible, but we're just trying to get a successful stamp made today. So again, thank you guys all for joining me this stream, and hopefully we get something successful here. So we won't be going back. It won't be kind of going back into the design aspect. We'll kind of be just moving forward into the actual running of the laser onto the rubber and actually getting something that actually works here. So hopefully you guys aren't too disappointed, but that's why we kind of archive all of our past live streams so you guys can check that out. So don't worry about that. If you feel like you're missing something in terms of the design, just go back into live stream number 7 and you'll be able to get all the way caught up. All right. Um, Before we get into actually running this job, let's just talk about where I'm at with the laser and the entire project and kind of the product as a whole. We had a great surge of orders come in November, which is great. That's great to hear. That's great for me. That's great for the company. That's great for everybody who works on it. Um, we're very excited about that, and we're able to keep our lead times to same day, next day, and that was I was very proud of that because we've been doing that for I think about 4 months since beginning of August. We haven't had any long lead times longer than a few days, so that's something I'm very proud of. Although the surge did kind of deplete our stock faster than we thought it would, so we're pushing hard to make sure that our lead times stay the same up until the Christmas break. Post Christmas break, we will be adding a small lead time. Um, I think right now on the website, I changed it to 4 to 6 weeks. I don't believe it'll be that long, but I much rather overshoot it rather than undershoot it and have people wondering why their lasers aren't showing up on time. So, again, we're going to be pushing really hard to get all the laser orders that come in before Christmas out the door. Not necessarily that you're going to get it before Christmas because obviously, holiday season, shipping is going to be a little bit slower, but I think if we can get everything out the door by Christmas, that'll give us the Christmas break to kind of, you know, take a breather. And then obviously we have new parts coming in so that we can continue to offer like, next day or 2 day or 3 day lead times on the LaserBeam. Um, we finished testing our new aluminum heat sinks. They looked great. They performed, I think, it was about 4 degrees under our original heat sink. So that's kind of great to put out there that we were able to theoretically improve the design, and that kind of translated into. Jack is funny. Thank you, Koala. Thank you. It's congrats to everybody on the team. We did a great job, and I'm very proud of everybody who worked on it. Um, Jack, you're hilarious. Uh, yeah, so our heat sinks are operating better, so that's awesome. Our new heat sinks are better. We always hope that things kind of improve with our better design aspects, but you never really know until you test it. And in the real world, so very excited. It kept things 4 degrees cooler. What that means realistically is that um, the lower the temperature that your laser is running at over the long run, the longer your laser is going to keep peak power, and it's going to slow down degradation of the actual diode inside your heatsink. So that's why we want things cool. We want things to be running very cool, and we're able to improve that. And hopefully, the next time we do a redesign on the heatsink, we'll be able to improve that. So yeah, that's all wrapped up with the heatsink. I've been talking about prototyping a router mount for a long time, but I kind of got lost in the supply chain of it all, and now I am back to prototyping, 3D modeling, 3D printing, just whipping things together with stuff that we have in the shop. I would like to come back in the new year with a workable prototype that we could actually start playing with rotary designs, and then we'll figure out supply chain in the background and hopefully get a product out by end of Q1 2023. But I'll stop talking about that until I have something to show you guys. Hopefully, the first stream of the new year. That's kind of where I'm aiming for, to have something that I can really play with you guys on stream and actually show you guys kind of where my head's at in terms of designing and kind of the simplicity of everything. Um, what else is there? I think next on the bat is going to be a redesign of the driver housing. So there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done in terms of the housing. Um, there's a lot of things that we can produce, just like if you guys have been around from the very beginning, our V1 long mill controllers, the housing greatly improved over to V2 and beyond. And that's kind of the next leap I'm trying to make for the laser driver in terms of the housing and the usability and being able to mount it in different places is going to be trying to improve that. Okay, that is house cleaning. That's house whatever they call it. I forgot the phrase, but that is kind of all my ducks in a row, letting you guys know what's on my mind, what's kind of in the background of the laser. Let's get right into it. Um, all right. So I have G Sender up and ready to go. That is because we created this design um, last time we were here. So I will just open up the our old design here. As you can see, um, we were able to switch around some settings. I think it was filled smooth, so that anytime we're inverting something in, yeah, Nicholas, I see your upgrade. I think it'll take a little bit longer to upgrade the electronics of it, but we're gonna start with the actual basic of the enclosure, and then eventually, just like the heatsink, we'll end up doing a redesign for the electronics themselves. But I do believe one day we should be able to get all the connectors on one side, or most of the connectors on one side, very similar to the long mill controller. I'm using the long mill controller kind of as my North Star in terms of usability and quality to kind of eventually get us there. But just like the long mill controller, it takes time, and you know, right now it works and everything's good. So we're gonna start small with the enclosure and then work our way up. But like I was saying, um, from the window tool, instead of selecting, I think stock, we might be on wireframe coarse or wireframe smooth. Instead, we selected filled slash smooth. Whatever your filled or smooth is, we just click the same. And then we just change it over from wireframe to filled, so that whenever we start playing with designs that are inverted like this, we're able to actually visually see it without running any tests or anything. We'll be able to just see that our design is inverted and it's doing the things that we want to do. But like we talked about last time, G-Sender does not technically recognize that. So right now it looks like it's only going to be engraving the dark red spots, but what it actually should be doing is engraving everything but the dark red. And I think that's what we figured out in our last live stream that kind of delayed things this time. So we should be good to go on the code aspect of things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my laser driver. I got my safety glasses. Always wear your safety glasses. No project is worth going blind. Um, I'm going to switch over to this cam so you guys can kind of see where we're at. And I'm just going to turn on the driver and focus my laser. I'm going to use a 3mm piece of scrap in order to kind of focus my laser on top of the rubber, just so I don't burn through the rubber itself. So driver is on. I'm going to I'm going to zero everything right here, and then raise my z-axis by 3mm so that I'm still in focus, but I can still focus my laser. So I'm just going to physically move my material to where I think the starting point is going to be, and then I'm going to turn on the laser test, just like we always do, and start twisting the focus ring until we're roughly about focus. So I can see it's starting to burn, but I just got to realign things here. And that looks good. So just going to make sure I'm all the way focused. And looks like I am just about there. So I am focused. I'm going to turn off the laser. I'm going to remove my piece. And then I am going to drop the Z back down 3mm. So now I'm back at my 000 origin point. I am ready. I am focused. I'm going to just zero it all for good luck. So, Nicholas, the thickness of the rubber is about 3mm. Um, so as you can see, they're pretty aligned with a 3mm piece of birch. And I kept the same settings that I would use for Yeah, so I kept the same I kept the same settings that I would use for regular wood because I don't actually know what settings are going to be good for rubber. Obviously, rubber is going to be a little bit more malleable than wood, but I also want a more intense difference between the top of the material and the bottom of the engraved sections. So I actually left it um, regular settings, but I imagine we're not going to just do it once and have it perfect. I imagine we're going to have to do it a few times. And I did make a separate cutting file that's the same size of the square that we're engraving so that I can recenter it after this job, upload the cutting file, and then make sure the rubber is cut out at the end of it. So I just separated those two files just to keep things simple. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start this job. And let's hope that everything goes all right. You know, if we don't like the thickness or how deep our laser is engraving, I can always run this again. Obviously, you can always change the code, but I think just for simplicity's sake, I might just run it again. So it looks like we're getting pretty deep engraving, but honestly, I won't know until it's about finished. So fingers are firmly crossed because I do not want to have to slow it down in order to create a bigger depth in the engraving. Uh, and again, this is just a reminder that you should have a good venting system because things like rubber are going to create a lot of smoke, and it's not going to be the best smelling smoke. And although it's not going to kill you right away, it's probably not the healthiest to be inhaling it. So uh, we got a little bit of time here. Looks like this might take us quite a bit of time. I don't think it's going to take us as long as the estimator is saying, but I do believe it'll take us a little bit of time to finish. I think maybe 20 minutes, I hope. I think this thing will be finished up in about 20 minutes. And then if we need to, we can always run it again. So how are you guys doing in the chat? I'm just your friendly neighborhood laser guy. You can talk to me. You can trust me. Last time we spoke, a lot of the Americans in the chat were having Thanksgiving. Oh, that's great to hear. Koala's doing great. How are the rest of you guys doing? Doug is doing just fine. That's great to hear. It's very nice to hear. Just finished 40 fiber products. Holy. Jack, what were your projects? I'm assuming they were metal, but what were your projects? Thank you, Steve. Stevie G. Um, thank you, thank you, thank you. So Jack is the almighty laser lord who can very proficient with a diode laser, a CO2 laser, and a fiber laser. Um, but I'm curious what type of projects you guys. Oh, I've been talking to the guys in the shop and in the office, and I think you guys let me know for sure, but I think I have a great idea. Okay, I'm gonna pause what I was just saying just to answer a question. Oh, Bill is great. That's great to hear. Central Ohio. Um, Shouts out LeBron James. Shouts out Ohio. Uh, Jack, our lasers aren't proprietary. Any Gerbil-based machine will be able to run our laser pretty simply. Most machines uh, have. Most machines have a PWM signal output, and that's just made for general accessories and primarily made for spindles. I think most controllers do have a PWM output, and as long as it's 5-volt output, you shouldn't have any problems with the PWM output on any other machine. So it's not proprietary. It'll work on most other Gerbil machines that are in the same kind of uh, price range, and all the machines that you would be thinking to purchase that are very similar to the long mill. All you need to know if we're similar is just ask if their controller has a PWM output for accessories, and ask them if it's a 5-volt PWM output. If it's yes and yes, then you should be all good. But diode lasers are even used to run on 3D printers and all sorts of other machines. So kind of anything that kind of has that PWM output and a couple of axes of movement can be essentially hacked together. But for other Gerbil machines, definitely not, definitely not, definitely not difficult. Oh, Koala is from Cambridge, Ontario. Hey, Koala, I have a question. Have you ever been to the old post office makerspace? I'm so curious. Oh, you should definitely check it out. They usually have a running Trotec CO2 laser there. Yeah, it's great fun. They have like robotics projects, art projects, music projects. You can rent out some time on some VR, electric drums, instruments. But I actually used to work in the makerspace there, and I used to run their CO2 laser and 3D printers. So they have some pretty expensive 3D printers there. They have a super expensive Trotec CO2 laser there, and they have some other fun workshops that they do for kids. Like I used to run the 3D puzzle workshop every Sunday. I'm not sure if they changed that up, but I would laser cut a bunch of 3D puzzles for the kids to assemble and paint and decorate, and it was a bunch of fun time. So if you ever, it's a good asset for first entertaining the entire family. They have a great coffee shop in there, and you'll also be able to rent out time on a CO2 laser cutter, a very expensive CO2 laser cutter. That's kind of where I first. Oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, Jack, that sucks to hear because maker spaces have always been a kind of a good place for me growing up because I never really had a dedicated space where I could house tools, and never had a budget where I could buy expensive tools and get access to all the expensive tools. So kind of every city I've traveled to as an adult, I've always kind of sought out whatever makerspace community. I was lucky enough to work at one and truly fell in love with rapid prototyping and rapid prototyping tools like CNCs and laser cutters. That's kind of my origin story of how I ended up at CNC Labs. I kind of just fell in love with laser cutters and 3D printers, and found out that there was a company that actually made all this cool stuff that was very close by. Um, so yes, what I was talking about earlier. For the next stream, you guys let me know if this is a good idea or not. But let me close up so you guys can see me. Okay, guys, for the next stream, I literally left the makerspace to come and work here. Yeah, I left the makerspace to come work here. Andy called me on one of my breaks when I was working there, and gave me a phone interview, and then um, eventually we jumped into a real interview, and then I ended up becoming the operations manager for this really cool CNC company that was nearby from where I was already working, and it was really, really similar stuff. Yeah. Um, okay, the idea. This is my third time trying to say this idea, so I'm gonna get through it, and then I'm gonna come back to the comments. And I see you, Stevie G. Um, what I want to do for the next live stream is I want to talk to the marketing department. I want them to get you guys to submit all your best, either I want you guys to submit all your best food laser projects or just general laser projects. And I want to show them off on stream so that everybody can kind of see the best of the best of what's possible with the laser from our customers, you guys, the guys who support us, the guys who use this laser and CNC every single day. And then, yeah, so food, either laser some food or your best laser project. We're going to set up a submission system so that I can get access to all your documents and then I can show them off on the next stream. Because the next stream will be December 22nd. It'll be like the second last or last day that everybody's in the office. So I kind of want to have a more relaxed stream. And then me personally, I will be picking my favorite 3 to 5 food projects. And I will be coming back. Um, and I will be bringing those in and I will be engraving them. So maybe it's a hot dog, maybe it's a marshmallow, maybe it's some toast, and yeah, it's gonna be a laser food stream. That's what we're doing. Maybe I'll buy some macaroons, anything that you can think of that would be funny, cool, or just horrendous. Laser it up, send the pictures my way. Give us a day or two to set up a submission system via Instagram or the website or the blog or anything so that you guys can get access to it. Or you guys could just send in a ticket on a banana, on a hot dog, on anything. I want to see the wackiest stuff out. And you guys can also send in your best projects, your best legitimate projects. So if you made some cool stuff using a laser, send it in. I want to show that off to the stream. So anybody who's new to it can kind of check it out. And then, yeah, so we'll have a bit of fun there. And then we'll also just be engraving food. And I will pick like 3 to 5 fun foods to engrave. And then we'll just engrave it. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a cool little... Roy, if you can engrave a Tic Tac, I will give you a round of applause. If you can actually get everything focused and lined up to a Tic Tac, you will be the MVP. So yeah, that is my idea for the next stream. It's a few days before Christmas. It's going to be the 22nd. I know a lot of you guys will be busy with family and food and relaxation and time off. So we totally understand if you guys can't make it for next week or the next 2 weeks, the 22nd. But if you can, it'll just be a fun, chill stream. We won't be tackling any extreme projects. It'll just be a relaxing, hopefully a relaxing situation. What I didn't realize, and I kind of just forgot, is that we actually did 2 passes, I believe. Yeah, so we did 2 passes. So right now it's running through its second pass. So I was a bit worried that we might have to run it again. But I'm actually kind of interested on doing it again with 2 passes because I really want a working one. I really would like a working stamp that really kind of gets the text onto the paper with the ink. So I might consider running this project again with the 2 passes. And as long as we don't engrave to the absolute bottom, we should be all right. Maybe I'll increase the speed on this one and let it do 2 passes because what I don't want to do is I don't want to spend 50 minutes engraving this and then it engraves all the way through. And then we're just left with a bunch of rubber letters. That would suck. So I don't want that to happen. So I want to kind of be careful about running it because right now this is doing its second pass. So if I run it again, it'll be 4 passes total. I can leave it at the same speed. I can let it run the first pass and then pause it. That'll be 3 total passes. Or I can speed it up and then let it run either 3 or 4 passes on the second run. So I don't want to touch it because then I won't be able to get it back to the same point and have it be perfect. But I also just want to make sure that I don't hit the bottom. It is edible. It just might not taste the best. So lasered food is edible because all you're doing is introducing the heat to the food, something that you can do with food. You can introduce heat to food as long as food specifically can't be heated up, right? I don't know if there's any food that exists, but there probably is. I'm just very uncultured. As long as as long as heat period can be introduced to the food and it can be consumed safely, and you don't even have to consume it all. You could just literally just make it for the lulls and make it for the fun of it. Take some cool pictures, send it my way. Um, but yeah, what you might find is that certain foods aren't going to taste that great, just because the amount of heat and the the directness of the heat. Yeah, I was gonna do toast, but yeah, same with toast. Like you might find it might have a weird taste to it. It might not taste the best, just because of the way how fast the stuff is heating up and the directness of the heat might not create the best results for actually tasting good. But you should be able to do it fine. I would love to see somebody pop a piece of popcorn with the laser. I think you wouldn't even have to focus it that much. You could kind of unfocus the laser and then just let the line of light sit on some kernels and see how long it takes it to pop the popcorn. I think next Laser Beam Live will actually be bringing in the Laser Beam, not a Laser Beam gun, not a laser gun. The not a laser gun is a toy that Andy and me made. He used my laser to, and then he created essentially a whole shell and a whole design, essentially holding the laser and the driver. And he added a battery pack to the end so that it could be operated wirelessly. And yeah, it's a lot of fun for lighting things on fire from close range, and it's just an extremely bright light from any range. But when you focus it, you could definitely mess some things up from close range. Yeah, we debated selling it. We debated selling it, and we still might do it. But it has to be a situation where we sell the kit, and then you guys can put it together. We probably won't be able to sell it together, and then yeah, because that would be dangerous, and we don't want to mess up any compliance with any FDA or the Red Act of Canada or the IEC laser compliance for products. So maybe we'll make the kit. If so, if you already have the laser, you can install it, or if you already have, or you just might have to buy them separately. Uh, yeah, and it'll definitely be named not a laser beam gun or not a laser gun because we do not sell laser guns. We sell parts for cool stuff. And if you so happen to assemble a laser gun, maybe that's your genius and your creativity. Yeah, we'll definitely have the waiver on the purchase sheet. Most definitely having the waiver on the purchase sheet. Um, let's check out. Let's see what's happening over here. You can see there's a bit of texture to it. Stevie, this laser unfortunately will not work with metal. What you can do is you can strip off any painting or layering on metal, and you can reveal the raw metal, um, which gives the effect of looking like you engraved the metal, but you can actually physically engrave the metal. Some people can they find like layers and substances and special paints that allow you to maybe mark up some metal, but it's very like niche, and it is like something that you'll have to do a little bit of research on. And I wouldn't use that as a selling point for our laser because it's just not made to engrave metal. If you want to engrave metal, you'll want what Jack has. Yeah, so Jack said it right in the comment. You can add laser ink spray, and it'll essentially either help mark the metal or it'll essentially engrave the ink inside the metal. There's different things that'll do different things for it, but um, you can get that effect with the diode. It's just not something that I would really market because it's not a feature that's inherent to the diode. It takes a lot of like practice and getting your settings in and finding additional products like the laser ink spray and stuff like that. Purely metal engraving is done by usually a fiber laser, which Jack actually has. Um, But I wouldn't put it past it because yeah, there are some cool stuff. Maybe I'll do a little bit of googling right now and see if I can. Uh, yeah, so kind of like what this is offering is like what you can try is like you apply a thin layer and then you run the laser at certain speeds and you'll have to test that out for the best results. And it kind of creates this. It adds, you know, a bit of ink to this kind of thing, and it gives like the a very cool effect to it. And essentially, it makes you, it allows you to engrave metal in a way. Um, yeah, but if you want just clean, amazing metal engraving, it's going to be a fiber laser. Find a shop, or yeah, find a shop that does metal, or you can maybe you can contract out Jack in the shop, in the comments or in the chat, and maybe you guys can figure out a situation um, where you know he can you can pay him to do some jobs for you. That would be cool. I would love to. I'd love to push everything. Yeah, that it is overpriced. Yeah, it is overpriced. I would not buy that one. I would definitely look for cheaper ones. If I was even going to buy that spray, I would definitely be looking for cheaper stuff. Okay, so I want to kind of feel this out without without moving it. I want to feel how much. You know what? Honestly, I think we can run it again. I think we can run it again. Who wants to see us run it again? I think we'll get really good results if we run this again. So if I was to do this again, I would just keep it at 100% power, and I would run it at 12.5 uh, millimeters per second, which is half the speed I'm running it at now, so that I would only have to do the one or the two passes. Or I could run it at 6 point, 125, um, and I would only have to do a one pass. But just so you know, materials are sometimes going to act differently based on the heat, of course, but also based on the time that the heat is there, right? So, although it's pretty comparable, like running four passes at 25 millimeters per second, let's say I don't touch the power, we keep it at 100% power for all the examples. Running a job at 25 millimeters per second for four passes might be the same as running it for two passes at 12.5 millimeters per second, which might be the same as running it for one pass at 6.25 millimeters per second. But the way that that material is going to react to that heat in that specific time of how long it takes to do four passes, two passes, and one passes might skew your results so that they're not perfectly comparable. I do feel like they're pretty comparable, like you're going to get similar results if you ran, four passes, 25 millimeters per second, or if you ran one pass at 6.25 millimeters per second, which is essentially just one fourth of the speed, because the speed and power relationship with the laser is going to be linear, but it's not going to be linear in terms of how the material reacts to the heat, right? So hopefully you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. I think most of the advanced and intermediate users understand what I'm saying, but that was more for like the people who are just starting up and who kind of, you know when they're picking speeds for a job and like, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how you kind of get the hang of things. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk in terms of theoreticals for you guys because it might not be rubber, but it might be in something else. Like, if you're engraving leather, right? Leather does not like the heat from the laser. The leather itself looks amazing when you engrave it, right? But it does not like to be under the heat for very long. So I bet you in that example, you're gonna have different results when you're running it, different passes and different speeds. You might actually have better results running a lot more passes at a lot faster speed because every time it goes by, it's only exposing the leather to short bursts of heat, so that it might slow down the amount of shrinking that you get from the leather, because you can engrave leather. You can only engrave 100% genuine leather. Do not try to engrave synthetic leathers or anything like that. That could actually cause dangerous fumes. But genuine leather, 100% genuine leather, you can engrave, but it does have a tendency to want to shrink, right? So maybe when I'm engraving leather, I might run 10 passes and have it be going like maximum speed, so that the leather is only in contact with short bursts. If you totaled all the time that it was under the heat, it would be the same as running it slow with less passes. But the fact that it's only short bursts and then it has time to speed up, short bursts and then it has time to speed up, short bursts and then it has time to cool down. Sorry, that's what I meant. Short bursts of heat, then it has time to cool down, will affect how that's going to react to the heat. Yeah, you could always water. You could always add a water cooling bed. You could always add like fans. You could run in a cold garage if you're fortunate enough to have snow and cold weather. I say fortunate, but I'm lying. I hate the snow. I hate the cold. And if I could live somewhere else and still have all the things that Canada has to offer, I would. Yeah, it is a weird smell. It almost I used to say it's like engraving leather is like, you know what, that's true. Engraving leather feels like you can smell what the cow ate or what the animal ate when you're engraving it. So let's answer some questions. Howard, new to the laser toy, waiting on it to be delivered from CNC. Would the JTech 24 watt Quad Pro be too powerful for this? Um, Let me check out. So you're looking at the 24. So the JTech 24 watt, it's going to be powerful. I just want to check it out so I can give you my honest opinion. Okay, so JTech is a totally fine company. They do kind of charge a lot of money for their products, but that's because their main line of products is laser related. So I wouldn't personally get a 24 watt diode laser. It essentially is just like multiple of these 7 watt lasers cranked up a little bit in terms of amperage to produce the 24 watts. Um, I would start looking at CO2 lasers if I were you. Anytime I'm looking above 10 watts on a diode, I usually start to look at CO2 lasers, because at that point, at that price point, you are going to get a lot more bang for your buck and a lot more speed with a CO2 laser. Australia is like Canada with better weather. Um, but I'm afraid of change. That's what it really is. You guys, you've got to the root of my issue. It's not really the weather; it's just the change. I would be scared of the change, even though they are very similar to Canada. I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people who live in Canada, from Canada, and who move to Australia, and they feel like it's the least culture shock in terms of moving over there. Um, do you need a fourth? Jack asks, do you need a fourth axis to laser pens and round objects? Yes, you need a fourth axis to do circular jobs, essentially. Um, the hardware team and then the long mill team is actually playing with some CNC fourth axis. So the laser fourth axis is a little bit like lighter of a design than the CNC fourth axis, but they're starting to play with some CNC fourth axis stuff. So I'm not saying that anything's going to be on our website anytime soon, but usually when they start playing with something, it means that there's an interest in the product itself. So hopefully soon we'll have both a fourth axis for the CNC itself and a fourth axis for the laser. Um, Stevie, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. I think we founded this company. I think one of our first, the ethos of this company was just, give the customer what they need. Obviously, abide by the policies that keep the company afloat, but give the customer the most, and they will love you for the rest of their life. Treat them like real human beings, and they will be your best marketing you could ever do. In the early days, a lot of the reason why people bought the machine was they would just talk to us for a little bit. They would see that we're not trying to bullshit them, and they would end up purchasing. Or they would go on our forums and our Facebook groups. They would see that regular people loved our machine, loved our customer service, and they would end up purchasing from us. So we do appreciate that. Stevie G, Koala Carvings, thank you so much for the kind words. We appreciate that. Jack in the Shop is totally correct. Once you start getting into the very expensive price ranges, once you start having a need or a want for extreme laser power, I always say go for a CO2 laser. You're going to get faster speeds for the price, and you're going to get more power for the price. I would only ever go up to 15 watts or 14 watts on diode laser, so essentially two diodes in a laser, before I would just start designing a comprehensive CO2 laser. Koala Carving. He reprogrammed a full CNC milling industry machine with a fourth axis. That's really cool. I imagine that was super complex with all the very old coding standards. Yes, a fourth axis for the CNC will work for a laser. It's just it'll if I'm being honest, it'll probably end up being a little bit more expensive. So it's almost like if you only want a fourth axis to do laser stuff, you can get the cheaper version. And if you want a fourth axis to do a bunch of other stuff, or we might end up converging on a project that works for both, and that's in kind of a middle price range that allows you to do both. I'll have to talk to the team. The team will have to talk to me. We'll kind of have to play around. So we won't try to release like redundant products. We want it to have a place on our website that makes sense for customers. Like Bill said, Bill, the ultimate true friend. 17 people watching and only 5 likes. Come on, guys, like the video. Uh, of course, I am grateful that you guys are even watching. But do us a favor and like the video. It always helps. It always helps. All right. I can let this run one more time. Or, sorry, not one more time, but I can let this finish doing its final pass. And I think we have a great stamp. We have a lot of depth here. Yeah, so I think working with the team with on a fourth axis is gonna kind of be the best option here because we want to be able to have people purchase what they need for the stuff that they need it, right? But we also don't want to release redundant projects, right? And we want everybody to be able to purchase what they need, kind of in their price range. Like we could charge, we could end up charging a couple $100 for a, you know, fourth axis. We could charge like the range is so wide based on the parts needed. But I know I could make a very like relatively affordable fourth axis. So that's kind of why I would have to see where their heads at in terms of the market because laser rotary axes are much less intensive and much simpler in terms of parts and cost versus a full CNC because the work holding is so much more intense, right? You have to be able to hold like very um, like weighted material, and you also have to be able to combat the force of the z-axis and not have any slippage there. So that's why it ends up being a more expensive gearbox, a more expensive like clamping system. So we kind of have to find a happy medium, or we just have to like you really lay down like why you would want just the laser one and why you would want this that could do CNC plus laser for like a higher price. Okay, we're doing our last pass right now. We should be done in about 10 minutes, and then we will cut it out with a little bit of code, and then we will call this a day. I'm gonna super glue it to the stamp head right here, and then hopefully we have a working stamp, and I can call it a night and sleep like a baby, knowing that our project was successful. I could sleep with a little bit of closure. You know, that's what the real feeling is when you successfully complete a project and everything works. It's like a little bit of closure. I think we're about at least like it's hard to tell from the side, but I think we have at least 2 millimeters of depth from our engraving. Probably 2 out of 3 millimeters of depth. It's hard to tell until I can kind of grab it and kind of see. I have a caliper here somewhere if I really wanted to get the depth, but just visually off the rip, just seeing like the sidewalls, I can tell it's about at least like 2/3 of the way. Um, so that should be good enough to get a very good like kind of stamping um, in terms of what we need. And I just have a hot glue gun set up in the back here, so I'm just going to use that to secure the rubber to our rubber stamp kind of handle. And yes, so after this, I'm going to run. I'm going to run some G code. That's just a cut file. So I just grabbed the same size. It's a 38 millimeter square. So I just grabbed a square, put it for 5 passes at 2.5 millimeters per. I know I didn't need that much, and I'll probably end up stopping it. I'm trying for a retirement gig. Stevie G, um, happy belated birthday. You're 63 years young. Um, yeah, it's always nice to have like kind of people pillars. You guys essentially become pillars of the community, and you guys kind of help. You guys end up helping other customers and everything there. So we do appreciate all you guys, and it's been a long time since I did any hiring, but you guys are awesome, and hopefully we start having more concrete ways to kind of get you guys into the ecosystem of like kind of almost brand ambassadors or I know we have Grant in the forum and stuff like that. So finding kind of essentially roles for people who are already kind of doing the work with our customers and helping people out of just like just them loving the product and loving what they do is always great. So we do appreciate all the support and all the kind words. You know, it's always a little nerve wracking starting this every year. It's always a little nerve wracking starting this every year, but yeah, every week, every 2 weeks, it's always a little nerve wracking. But once I'm like kind of in the chair and talking to you guys, the hour 20 minutes, the hour whatever, it always flies by super quick. So I do want to thank you guys for that. For sure, I want to thank you guys for that. Yeah, if we need a if we need a custodial staff, we will hit up Jack in the shop, or maybe if I need a commemorative. LaserBeam VIP coins, I'll have you do it on your laser, on your fiber laser. We are almost done, guys. We are wrapping it up. Just almost done there. Last few lines of code. So I had like 5 passes going at like a super slow speed to cut it out, and I don't think I'll need all that because we've already essentially engraved like 2/3 of the material. So honestly, I think we get away with it in like 2 passes, 3 passes at the most. I did speed it up from my normal cutting speed, but even then, I think 2/3 of material being gone is already kind of most of the way there. I am very excited. I really think this is going to work, but you never know till it's all done. And I'm excited. I want this to finish up. I want to get this cut out, and I want to start stamping things. Oh, we are almost done. The anticipation of the last 77 lines of code. And we are almost there. I just chose the speed that I usually recommend doing like birch plywood, which is like 100% at 25 millimeters per second. I had to do it twice, and it was 4 passes total. So I just chose a speed that I like my average speed for just engraving on some wood, and I figured I'd have to do a little bit extra because of how soft the rubber is, but how deep I wanted it. Yeah, carving a stamp is a bit doesn't seem like the best kind of way to do it, but the laser is kind of just tailor made for making stamps out of the rubber. The rubber engraves very easy. So now I am starting this cut job so that we can cut it off. And we should have our stamp in maybe 2 passes all cut out. Um, I should have put the air assist on for the cutting, but I'm lazy. Um, I can see like a bit of flame coming up, and the air assist is perfect for that. But it actually seems to cut really easy. I wouldn't be surprised if it's cut out after its first pass, but I don't want to. I don't want to second guess, so I'm just going to let it run maybe one more time around the world. Yeah, the CO2 for stamps is great because you get that more speed. Because you have more power, you can like effectively run it at higher speeds. This thing really wants to light on fire. This thing really, really, really wants to light on fire. This is perfect for air assist. This material and this cut job would be like this is the exact use case of why we use an air assist. I'm like trying to blow it out instead of plugging in the air assist because I'm that lazy. But I'm gonna stop it. This is the second pass. I'm gonna stop it. All right. Oh no, it did not cut all the way through. It did not cut all the way through. So I will be using a knife. I should have let it run. I should have let it run until the job was finished. But I got a little overzealous. I got a little too excited. So we will just be using a knife and some scissors. So let me um, let me quickly find some tools here. One second, guys. I'm just gonna find a knife or some scissors. All right. So let's just use a knife to get the rest of the way there. All right, we got two sides down. Luckily, the rubber is pretty soft, so it cuts pretty well just with a knife. Got our three sides and the last side here. All right. So we got our little stamp. So you can see the raised. Let's try to get it to focus on this. You can see how raised it is. Doesn't look like much, but that's enough for the ink to kind of get transferred over and hopefully not just have a big black line. So I'm going to go really quickly run this under some water, and then I will be gluing this onto this, and then we will be doing some stamps, and then we'll call it a night, and I'll catch you guys next time. So I will be back in just 30 seconds. I'm going to go run this under some water, get rid of some of the debris and particulate. All right. It's nice and clean. Now I'm going to hot glue it to this so we can start stamping. Okay? One sec. Oh, Koala's heading out. Cheers, mate. You have a good night. I'm just going to peel off the excess hot glue off the edges so that doesn't kind of interfere with our stamp. Cheers, mate. You have a good night. Okay. We got our little stamp, our little 3D printed handle, a little laser safe rubber, and boom. That's no problem at all, Steve. I got our little ink that I got from Michael's. It's a washable ink pad. And let's go ahead and test this out. So, nice dip right there. Make sure we're all covered in ink. And then, boom. So it's not perfect. Some letters look better than others. You kind of want to equalize the force in which you're stamping down. And you get the best results that way. All right. We're live. So this is kind of when I wasn't keeping consistent pressure, and then this is more how it looked when I was keeping consistent pressure. Doug, you have a great evening. So what I would do to make this better, I would have ran the job another time for a total of 6 passes, maybe 8 passes. So visually, I thought we were going deeper than we actually were. Um, so I would want even more of a difference between the top of the rubber and where the engraved rubber ends, so that you know we don't get this outlining of the edges. We only get the outlining of the text. Right? There's a little bit of bleed from the top and the bottom, creating a little border. So I would have just ran it maybe twice, maybe 3 more times. I thought we were deeper than they were, and I didn't want to cut all the way through. Um, and then maybe I would use, yeah, I can trim the edges here. I can just cut the edges to get rid of that, and then it'll be a much cleaner stamp. So I would cut the edges. I would run it for more passes or for less, way less speed. Um, and then I wouldn't even use hot glue. I would use double-sided tape. I would use double-sided tape so that my plane here is flat. So as you can see, it's very hard to get this flat with hot glue. I just thought it was going to be the easiest option. But there's obviously some inconsistencies in the plane that it's sitting on. So different parts are raised more. So I would just use a flat piece of double-sided tape to kind of get it there. But you know what? We're live. We are live. All right, guys. This was LaserBeam Live, number 8. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting the company like you guys do. Thank you for being the best ever to do it. Um, it does seem like we were live. I am going to call it a night. You guys can take what you learned or take what take what you already knew, but you like to hang out, and you guys can make even better projects, hopefully, and you guys can supersede me. So thanks again for joining me. Next week is going to be a fun stream. Send in all your fun projects. You could send in a customer service support ticket as long as you include laser. Um, you can include laser in it. It'll go straight to me. Upload your photos of your best projects and laser some food. And next laser project, we will go over some of the best projects. I will highlight all your great artistic and kind of CNC and laser jobs and your great design work and stuff like that. And then we'll laser some food, maybe some marshmallows, maybe some macaroons, maybe some toast, and we'll just have a good time. It's a few days before Christmas. Most of you guys will either be with your family, so I don't take it. I'm not gonna take it personally if you guys don't make it. Enjoy your families, enjoy your time off, enjoy your holiday season. But if you do have some time to check in on the 22nd, then come back in. Maybe send in a project, send in some laser engraved food, or it's just one of your best projects. You can send in a ticket, include the word laser, it'll go directly to me, and we'll just have a little bit of fun. We'll show off your great talents. So if I don't see any of you guys again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Thank you for the support. You guys have been great. I will catch you on the next one, or at bare minimum, I hope to catch you in the new year. You guys have a great night, and thanks for the last time.